Yoma Daf Min Beis. Today's email comes from Ari Davis from Golders Green, London. Dear R Eli Stefansky, I joined at the beginning of Yoma thanks to Dov Harris. Dov Harris gave out Gemaras, the art school Gemaras Yoma, for free to many people in England. I even reciprocated and sent the Gemara to the guy in Hungary who needed a Gemara Yoma. I have not missed one day. I'm excited to listen and watch the Daf come alive every day. But as a newbie, I wish to talk on behalf of the many other hundreds, maybe thousands of us out there around the world. How do you prepare the Daf? Do you have a whole team at your office preparing pictures, cutting them out, typing psukim, highlighting various words? I think not. Who buys the props, the goat, the red string, and many hundreds of the other items you display at the share? You always mention Yosef, Gary, Avi, Noam. Who are these guys? I feel like I know you, even though we just met 40 days ago, because I see you daily on the screen. We need behind the scenes info. And then he says he's coming to Eretz Yisrael in a few months. Can I give him a tour behind the scenes, watch you prepare the daf, and perhaps interview the team? And ear as a season special. Good Shabbos, Ari Davis from Golders Green, London. Thank you, Ari. Yoma Daf Min Beis. Rav Dimi says in the name of Yochanan, there are three types of red string. One is for the paraduma, one is for the sar lazazel, and one is for the mitzayra. One is 10 zuz, one is 8 zuz, one is 2 zuz, and I don't know which one goes where. Says Rabbi Yonasan, the para needs the heaviest one, the 10 zuz one, because it has to fall into the fire. The sar needs 8 zuz because you have to split it in half. The mitzayra doesn't need anything, so you just give it 2 zuz. Rabbi Yonasan says the machloikis is by a cow, by the bull. You need 10 or 2, so it's the two extreme measures, but not the middle one, the 8 one. And the simon is the famous Mishnah, it doesn't matter how much you daven, the ikar is that even the little that you say, you should have kavanah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, the machloek is not by a cow, it's by the goat. And the simon is, the day that Rabbi Bar Kisi was nifter, that's when they had this machloekes, because a tzaddik is mechaper when he dies. Similar to what we said yesterday, Rabbi Yitzchak says there's two types of strings, so Rabbi Yitzchak continues and says there's two shchitas. One is the shchita of the paraduma, and one is the shchita of the bull of the Kohen Gadol, and I don't remember which one is kosher with the Yisrael to do the shchita. Machlekes Rav and Shmuel and others. Rav says paraduma is not kosher by Yisrael because it says alazar and chukah. Chukah is exactly as so, it has to be a kohen. And it's similar to the nega tzaras that only a kohen could decide is this a nega or not a nega. And even though it's not an avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, but it requires a kohen. So paraduma, even though it's not an avodah, needs a kohen. Mashe'en kain, the bull of the Kohen Gadol, even though it says in the Torah Aaron and Chukah, but it's an avodah, and we know that the avodah in Beis HaMikdash, all karbanos a Yisrael could shecht, so therefore you don't need a kohen. But Shmuel says no. When it comes to the paraduma, a Yisrael could shecht it, but the bull of the Kohen Gadol is possible by Yisrael, because it says Aaron and Chukah. By paraduma it says V'shachat oisa lefanav. In other words, Elazar is standing and watching somebody else, a Yisrael shechted, so you see that Yisrael can shechted. But Rav says no, that's coming to say that you shouldn't have hesach hadas, you should think about what you're doing, don't do other things. And Shmuel says you're right, you can't have hesach hadas, but that I learned from the service that part of Rav says I need both psukim. I cannot learn just from the shechita part because that's the beginning of the avodah. Maybe over there you can't have hesach hadas. I can't learn from streif at the end because that's the main part of the paraduma. I need to burn it so I have ashes. As you see in the chart, this is the seder of the avodah of the para. All the way at the bottom you have asifas efer to gather the ashes, and kiddush mayim to add water to mix it together with the ashes. Those are also to be mesiach das. You have to have concentration. Why? Because it says in the pasuk lemishmeres lemei nida. But in the beginning, eitz erez ve'ezav shnitoy las, you put those things in the fire. Over there, if you mesiach das, it's not makif. It's okay. But why? Because it's not with the paraduma. It's wood and string. It's not the gufa part. The Brisa says that when it comes to sprinkling of the water, it says bayom shlishi shvi in the day. So I learned daytime and not at night. Also, it cannot be a woman, ish, and not a isha. What about shchita, kabbalah, hazazdam, sreifa, eitz erez? All of those are possible by a woman. And since they're possible by a woman, they're also possible when you do it at night. Why? Because the Torah says Torah. There's one Torah for all, one hatzlacha for all of those things. And shchita we learn from Elazar. Elazar means, and not a woman. So if so, I could take the same word, Elazar, and not a zar. That's what it says in the Brisa. Memela, that's a right to Rav. Rav says that a zar is possible by paraduma. We're going to start a sugya today. We're going to continue it all the way into tomorrow, a minute and a half into tomorrow, where the Gemara tells us the entire parsha of para Every word even could be the opposite of the word before. It could be going about a kain gadol and switching to a kain hedyot, for instance. It could be one pasuk like this, the following pasuk the opposite. Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish, as the end of the sugya says, they try to make some sort of, they wanted to conform the sugya, make it as one, and they couldn't come up with anything. They said, it is as it is. Some sugya are like this, some sugya like that. Let's start with a few of them. It says in the pasuk, "V'nesatem Isa el Elazar." Elazar was the Zgan Kohen Gadol. His father Aaron was the Kohen Gadol. But that's only the first paraduma in history. But in future generations, you don't need Elazar the Zgan. Machlokes. Some say that in future generations you need a Kohen Gadol, not a Zgan. Why? Because I learned from Yom Kippur, Chukah, it's Xer Shalom. Just like Yom Kippur needs a Kohen Gadol, so to paraduma. Some say no. Not only you don't need a Zgan Kohen Gadol, you can do it with the Kohen Hedyot. In the same pasuk we continue. V'haiti Isa. It has to be only it by itself. You can't take the paraduma out with another animal. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who always darshans time of the Kra, I want to understand what the Torah meant. So he says, the reason why you can't take out another one is because people say, oh, you didn't shecht the paraduma, you shechted the black one. You shechted not one, you shechted two, which is also because you have Masech Dad, you're doing another Avaida. What's the difference? Because according to Reb Shimon, if I know the reason behind it, then I'm allowed to take out the paraduma with a donkey. Because nobody's going to say, oh, they shechted the donkey instead of the paraduma. But that's only if you darshan in time of the Kra. If you don't darshan in time of the Kra, then you're not allowed to take out any other animal. It doesn't matter what, even a donkey. Have a wonderful day.